Hey bosses, it's Nina. A few people on my program have access to Skype for Business as part of their program, and I'm doing an overview on how to use Skype for Business. So I thought I'd do a quick YouTube video on the intro to Skype for Business. So, just a couple of tips. This is Skype for Business, not Skype, which is the free app. Skype for Business comes with your Office 365 subscription or however you purchase Office. But in your Office 365 subscription, you can download Skype for Business. So if you want a full tutorial or full lesson or course, you can head over to learnedit.online. But this is going to be an overview of the app. First thing I'm going to do is expand it because I want it to be on the entire screen so you can actually see it. Okay, so first, let's just take a look at how everything is set up. Or actually, let's talk about how you actually access it. So if you don't see Skype open on your desktop when you first log in, one thing that you can do is from your start menu, you can type in the word Skype for Business. Now, if you do have a free version of Skype, you'll see Skype and you'll see Skype for Business in whatever version. In this case, it's 2016, right? So that's one thing. You'll have to launch it in the morning or whenever you log in. But a lot of times when you first start Skype, after you set it up, it automatically loads in your system tray. So you may want to look for it over in your bottom right hand corner. Of course, I have a bunch of stuff here, but sometimes when it's minimized, right, it's still open, but you can find it here. Okay, if you right click, you can actually change a couple of things like your current status, which we'll go over. You could sign out and you could also open the application. Okay, now that we're in Skype, let me give you an overview of the entire application. So one thing that people don't know about is that at the top, there's a what's happening today. So I can say, I'm working on YouTube videos. YouTube videos. There you go. Now, for you, it doesn't mean much, but if you're working in a company or a business or a corporation or other people are actually in Skype, they'll see this next to your name. So if you actually change your availability to busy or do not disturb, they'll know why you're actually busy, right? So it's just a way of communicating with your team without communicating. Couple of things about the statuses here. For those of you that have Outlook and you're using your Outlook calendar, if you have a meeting scheduled on Outlook, it will automatically show as busy during that meeting time. So for instance, say I have something scheduled on my calendar for 12 to 1. Skype for Business will automatically change your status to busy, right? And see, this is my status, and you'll see it says I'm working on YouTube videos. But if there's something on your calendar, it will show you busy at that time. A couple of other things. When you have it on Do Not Disturb, it means when people actually send you messages, you will not receive the pop-up, right? What's going to happen is instead it will go into your missed conversations, and we'll go over that a little bit later. But basically, it's not going to pop up. Also, most corporations and most companies, most enterprises, whatever you want to call it, most companies actually have the settings set up so you can receive two notifications. So I'm not two notifications. You'll receive an update in two different places. So not only will it be in your missed calls, but you'll also get an email in your missed conversations in Outlook. We're not going to go into that, but just know that you're going to get all of that information even if you're on Do Not Disturb. Okay? You could set it to be right back. Some of these other items are also taken from your actions. So for instance, off work. If you're setting out of office, this will say that you're off work. The other thing is there's some additional settings in some businesses where if you're away from your computer for more than 15 minutes, it will automatically set you as away. And there's some other settings that we'll go through a little bit later, but just know that there's a wealth of information here as far as So just know that there's a lot of information here. You can set your own status, but a lot of these are driven from your actions in Microsoft. The second thing is your location. So again, depending on how your company set up your Skype for Business, there's a couple of things that can happen. Either you're going to have a drop down here and you can actually select the locations, or you can actually type in your location, right? So if you're working from a different office or a different store, you can actually put that in there. Okay, so I've minimized it just so, or I've taken out of maxed mode just so I can show you some of these items here. So the first area is contacts, which we're under now. There's also conversations. This one is when you have your phone set up. So a lot of companies will set up your online phone, your voice over IP, which is what we're used to calling it, but there's several different options that they can set up where you can have a phone number, you can dial out, you can answer calls on your Skype, you'll have your voicemail. So a lot of this would have to be set up by your company. I don't have it set up in my Skype for Business. It's just not something I use. There's also meetings. So if you have anything, and you'll see that I have a strategy session with Janza today at 8:10. If you have meetings on your Outlook calendar, what's going to happen is not only are you going to see it here, but if it is a Skype meeting, you can click on join and actually join at that time. So let's go through all of these options here, and we'll start with contacts. So under contacts, what this is, and let me see how I can break this down for you. So there's different items here, or different ways to group your contacts. In your corporation, so I know Jewel's already on here, but I'm going to go ahead and type in Janza. So Janza is someone who's a part of this business, right? And has, so if you're in a company, it's someone who's part of your company. You can right click and there's several different options. Right now I'm just going to add it to favorites. And if I add her to favorites, then she's at the top here in my favorites. Okay, if I right click on her again, I can also copy her to other contact lists. Now it doesn't look like I have any contact lists available, so let's go ahead and create them. I'm going to right click on any of the lists that already exist. So for instance, on favorites, and I am going to create a new group and call this students. Okay, so Janza's up here. I can right click and copy her to students. So she's in both places. I can also drag and drop her to move. So we'll move Crystal down here. And I believe you have to click on, yeah, you have to hover over the actual title of the group. Okay, and then I can right click, rename it if I need to. The way you would use this is people that you engage with frequently, you're going to want to add on your contact list. Okay, so if it's somebody that you work with daily and you're always chatting with them, you can always add them to your contact list or your favorites. If you have a project, so you're implementing something or you're doing a marketing project, you would create a group. And the joy of having these groups are right here. I can right click and send an instant message to everyone in that group. Notice I didn't have to type in Crystal. Both of them are in that group, right? I can start a video call, anything that I need to do. If you right click again, there's a lot of other things you can do. Start a conference call, start a video call, send an email message directly from Skype, so you don't have to open Outlook, create the email, add everyone, send the email. You can actually right click and you can open up Outlook. Same thing with scheduling a meeting. It will take this group of people, schedule a meeting in Outlook for you, and just fill out the information. Okay, so that's a great way to kind of organize your contacts. You'll also notice as I hover over each contact, I can do the same thing. So I can send a message, call, you can actually see their information. I'm not going to pull this up because these are actual people and I don't know what information they have in here. You can actually see the contact card and that will bring up, and actually let's see if I can see my own contact card. That might work. Yep, there we go. So in this case, it's not a lot of information. When you're in a business, you'll see their, actually this is almost no information, so this is not helping. So a lot of the businesses that you'll see, you'll see their calendar, when they're free next. You can send an email from there, their availability, all of that you can see kind of by clicking or right clicking and choosing that information. Couple of additional things that you'll notice. So my status shows in your bottom left-hand corner. Each of these people have the little white circles, so that means they're not online, right? So that means when they are setting their status, so say they'll be right back, off work, busy, or if it's green, that will all show here. Okay, so now that you know the basics of the contacts, everything else is just adding on to those features. So for instance, the status, it's the same people on your list except for they're categorized into statuses. Notice the other people, this is a little bit more advanced. I actually added a group, but these are the people that are on my list, the students, right? And favorites will show up here in just the status. And this status is going to match with the status up here, at least the top 4 or 5, right? Relationships. Now, as you go through this, depending on how your business or your company has it set up, you may or may not be able to add external people. Meaning if you're at a business, say at superstar.com, you can only add other people from at superstar.com. But if you do have additional people, and actually I'll add one person now, they'll show up, you can actually categorize them. So for instance, colleagues, Janza and Crystal automatically showed up here, but I can actually move one of them, and actually no, this isn't I can move them to a work group or to other places. Let's go ahead and add someone external. So I'm gonna add a contact. Notice this button here, this is also available anywhere in contacts, but I can go ahead and click on add a contact, and I'm gonna go to add a contact not in my organization. So you'll see Skype for Business, and you'll also see Skype. And so in this case, I'm just trying to think of what this ID is under. I think this is, okay, I'll use my Skype for Business. So I'm gonna use Socially Nina, which has a Skype for Business account. And I'm gonna add her, and you can add these, remember these are the contact groups we created on the first tab, right? So you can add her under other contacts and set, excuse me, set privacy to external contacts. It already has her there, but maybe Nina is family and friends, and I'll show you the difference. So I'm going to click on OK. One tip before I talk about the differences in the different statuses is make sure, or different groups and status and relationships, make sure you add external people by their email address. And let's see if this works. So I'm going to say add other, and actually I'll do it this way. A lot of people will say Nina Thomas, right? And they'll search. And if it's someone internal, right? My contacts, you'll see it here. There's also the entire Skype directory. And as you can see, there's tons of Nina Thomases. So you don't know if you're adding the right person, or if you've given your name to someone else, you don't know if you're adding they're adding you correctly. Unlike regular Skype where you have an ID that you add, you're gonna have to actually look up, and this is not gonna work because I already have it, but look up the actual email address, and when you find it, oh, it does, you can right click and add your contact to their list, okay? Quick caveat. Everything in Microsoft is all based on company access rights. So say my company, this is LearnedIt.online, allows, we allow people to contact people outside of our organization. So that's fine, we can add anyone. But say anyone at Socially Nina, they have their settings set where you can only talk to people within the business. So if you're sending out invitations and that other company doesn't allow their employees or students to add people on Skype for Business outside of their organization, then you're not going to be able to add them. Other organizations allow you to add them, but they have to accept on their side before you send something. So there's a couple of different layers. So if this doesn't work, or if you get an error, it's usually access rights. Okay, let's jump back into the contact information. So we have a couple people that we've added here. You go to status, they're grouped by status, and then relationships. You'll see that Nina Thomas is here, and then some of the other people are within the colleagues. Now, one thing that's usually here, and it might be because I have it expanded. Let me see. Or maybe they changed it. You used to be able to hover over to see the different levels. I'll have to figure out where to find that now. But basically, each of these relationship statuses give people different access. For instance, within your organization, if someone's marked as a colleague, you can see that Crystal is offline, right? Or that she's away from her computer, or do not disturb. But external, if it's an external person, you won't be able to see their status, their contact information, when they're free. So these security groups just allow you to give people certain access to you. And so again, I don't know where those are. If you want to know about the different access levels, just let me know and I'll add something below in the comments. The next thing is anytime someone new contacts you, it'll show up here. So for instance, think about your phone. When someone new reaches out to you and contacts you, you have it on your call log, and you would have to add them to your contacts in order for them to be included in any of your contact groups. Same thing here. You can add them to favorites, remember, or you can add them to contact groups, or just add them to your contacts. But otherwise, anybody who contacts you will show up there. If your organization has phone call, your phone calling or voice over IP available, you will also see your missed call, your calls there, not just your instant messages. Okay, little tongue twister. Okay, so moving on to conversations. Under this tab, you'll see a couple of items here. So all of your conversations, so yes, every meeting, every call, everything, right, will be under here. Most companies also set it up where all of your instant messages automatically go into your Outlook under missed conversations. Actually, not under missed conversations, under conversations. So all of the conversations you're having back and forth are being archived in up to the network, and you can actually access them in Outlook. We're not going to jump into Outlook today. I don't actually have that set up for this profile. But the other thing is, if you miss a conversation, if you need to search a conversation that you had, you can actually search within Outlook for any of the missed information. Speaking of missed, if you miss an instant message, so remember I told you about the do not disturb. If you're on do not disturb, all of your conversations when someone is trying to reach out to you will be under missed conversations. And again, that also it backs up to your network, so to be an Outlook. These are all the phone calls. So if you're making phone calls out or in, they'll show up here. I'm going to skip the phone. Not a lot of people have that. I don't have it turned on in this environment. If you've purchased your own Office 365 for your small business, this is an additional fee, kind of like a phone that you would normally purchase. So there's different features you have to turn on as an administrator, and there's some setups you have to do to get a new number and all of that. So if you are an administrator, you're going to have to look at how you set that up. Okay, we already kind of went over the meetings. A lot of times, so again, all of your meetings will show up here. You can also click on the button to join, right? One of the things that you can do is meet now. I'm actually not going to go over meeting information in this training. I'm going to get someone else, and I think Janza was the one I asked. Yeah, Janza and I will go through all of the meeting options in a separate training. And so just real quick though, when you join a meeting, you have the option to use Skype for Business, full audio and video. So that means on your computer, you'll be listening, viewing the screen, everything's gonna be all through Skype. If you are recording your meeting, you have to use full Skype for Business, right? At least you have to do that. All your participants can use whatever they like, but in order for you to record it, you're gonna wanna use Skype for Business, right? Call me at, so if you have your a phone number associated with your Skype for Business that has been issued with this profile, your phone number will automatically show up here. I'm also going to show you how to add your cell phone number and any additional number so you don't have to add it each time, right? Because in this case, you would actually add the number and Skype would call you when you start. Or you can choose not to join the audio, right? Notice if you do select don't show this again, it's just going to go with whatever option you actually selected. Okay, let's jump into the techie stuff. Some of this is going to be a little technical, but not really. They're super duper easy. One of the things I'm going to do, let me just change it here so you can see. If you go to the right-hand corner, there's a little gear that you're probably used to, right? One thing that you can do is you can select the drop down and then you're going to click on show menu bar. I have people do this because it adds these options, file, meet now, tools, help, all to the top. And I know that's what you're probably used to working in and not necessarily used to working from this right-hand corner. So the first time you start Skype, I would show that menu bar so you're not confused and wondering where the buttons are. The first menu, file. So some of these I'm just gonna skip over. I'm sure you guys can figure this out. But if you have multiple IDs, so I have Nina at Socially Nina, I have Nina at learnedit.online, and I have tons of other ones for different companies that I work with for Microsoft. But you can change your sign-in address there. A lot of these features you're also going to find are very similar to what we've already went over. So my status, we've already looked at that. Okay, viewing received files. So during your instant messages to each other, you're actually going to, sometimes you receive files, and this actually shows you the files that you received along with your conversation history. Remember, that's this button here. Okay, moving over, meet now. I'm not going to click that. We've already went through that. Also, tools, always on top means if you're working on other things, you want this to be on the top part of your desktop so you can always see what's going on. And then your recording manager, when you're recording all of your items, like different meetings and things like that, and you need to go back to it. And I'm not sure if this is going to actually open for me right now. Probably not. There we go. This is where you go through your previous meetings that you've recorded and you can rename them, you can publish them. Again, that's a whole additional course, so we're not going to jump into that. Audio device settings. If you're going to be using this from your desktop and joining, I would go in here and look at the settings, make sure and test your microphone. You can see this little thing going. So you want to test that, and we'll jump into that in just a second. Same thing with your video. You want to test your video and make sure, and right now I have a cap covering it so you won't see me, but you can test your camera, and you could also adjust the settings in there. I'm just going to actually go down to options, and we're going to go through all of these settings. Not all of these, sorry. We're going to go through a few settings. Some of the things that I like to point out is you can reopen your conversations when you sign in. So if you go back and forth with people, when you open up your desktop in the morning, it will pop up. Be careful with that one. But you can also, a couple of the things that I want to show you is if you want to turn on or turn off the option to automatically start the app when you log into Windows, showing up in your right-hand corner, you can actually turn that on there. And then there's a couple of other things. The email history. As I told you that all of your conversations are saved to your email or to your Outlook. If you want to turn that off, you can turn that off here. However, the caveat there is that most companies actually gray out this. So I'm my admin here. So I actually don't have this grayed out, but usually they control all of these settings, right? We're gonna move, that's how, the contact list is how you sort people. So on the list, Janza is by her first name and not her last name. Whether you want pictures or anything like that, it's just how you organize your contacts. Your status, this is another one that's great. So once you, I mentioned that if you're away from your computer or idle for a few minutes, it automatically shows you as away. So you can actually up that time. So I usually do like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever. So, because if you're at work and you're at lunch, it's up to you whether you want people to see that you're away or not. I know some of you don't want that information, right? But this is where you kind of change that information there. I'm not going to go over some of these other items. Um, Pictures. So you'll see that some of these people do not have pictures. This is where you upload your picture. Okay. Your alerts. So I'm going to get down to alerts. So when someone adds you, or if you get a notification, when you're offline, do you want an actual notification for that? And I'm going to show you one more feature that I probably can't test right now, but I do want to show you. All of your ringtone sounds, we already went over audio. One thing to keep in mind is you do want to adjust the microphone according to your voice. I'm pretty loud, so, and you do want to test to make sure you can hear things on your speaker. Okay. Video, if you need to change your camera, you can do so there. Where your files are saved by default, like for me, I would change this to, you can change it to OneDrive or something like that so it's backed up. And then all of your recording settings, if you want to change it to 1080, you can do that. Just keep in mind that this is over the web. It's all based on your internet strength and their internet strength and how well of a connection that you have. So this may cause it to lag a little bit, so just be careful. It's also a larger file size. And then all of your meeting settings. And we're not going to go over your meetings today. I just wanted to give you an overview of the entire app. There's one feature I didn't show you that I wanted to, it's a bonus, that I love. So you can right click and choose tag for change status alerts, right? When you tag for change status alerts, what happens is if that person is available, say they were on do not disturb, when they become available, you'll get a pop-up in your lower right-hand corner. Now, this is my idea of how to use this. Don't do this for everyone, right? If you have a work bestie, do it there. But the way you would use this is, Miss, Miss Watts. She's always busy. She's always on the phone, but you have to get her approval on something. So you set this change of status. So when she's off the phone or out of her meeting, you'll get a pop-up and you send her an instant message just to ask the question, right? Or if it's something that you're trying to, like you have a team and they're in and out of meetings. But again, you don't want to tag everyone for status change. I do remember there was a manager at one of the businesses that I worked at, and she would turn this on for every one of her employees so she knew when they kind of left their desk and came back. It was just ridiculous. Like, grow up, right? Anyways, moving back to the last feature I want to show you, because I see that it's there. You can change the privacy relationship. So remember in the relationships, I was trying to explain to you that there's different levels of access. This is where it is. So I right-clicked and you can see what details each of these people will see. So if they're external, they only see your name, title, email address, company, and picture. Colleagues also see your location, all of your contact information, etc., etc. Okay, that was a lot. So that is an overview of Skype for Business. If you want to know more about Skype for Business or any other Microsoft app, I actually train on Microsoft. I love Microsoft. I've been training for about 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years. If you have questions, let me know. If you want the full training on Skype and how to run your meetings and use this for your business, especially if you're a small business owner that has Skype for Business, head over to learnedit.online for additional courses and really in-depth strategy on how to use Skype for Business in your business. All right, ciao.